Hi, everybody. This is Speedy Benu Studio Inks. We're back from with another video, the fourth in the series about the flying spaghetti monster. I have moved on from the 2D into the 3D virtual shop. Thing is, the sculpture of the flying spaghetti monster is supposed to be inside of the shop. It's being given to the shop, so it's not anything that's for sale or going to be on display. It'll be seen when it's in the process and when it's finished, but my virtual studio, I want to have one to go along with the real life one, and I hadn't made much progress on working on it. I decided to go ahead and get back to working on that because the flying spaghetti monster sculpture needs to be in there anyway because it's going to be created in reality. So I figured I'd do the design in there. So I'm spending a bit of time here to go ahead and get the shop built in 3D and then start putting the components in place. And then in tomorrow's video, you'll see me, putting in the actual sculpture and start getting a feel of what I intend. At the end of the last video, it was I did a kind of cartoony version of it, and that can definitely happen. That's not at all a reflection of the final product that I have in my mind. This flying spaghetti monster that's going to be a sculpture, it's much more of a dark techno noir kind of sculpture, and I'll get into that in a minute. That's much more of about the alchemy, which I said I was going to mention and get into more. Creatives transmute, whether they know it or not. And so, even if you haven't studied alchemy, which you damn well should, you really should study it. Everybody technically should study it. It's not mysticism and it's not magic. It's managing your own psychology. It's understanding yourself. It's healing yourself. It's dealing with your own problems, your own self, instead of looking for an excuse or looking for a crutch or looking for somebody to blame. It helps you doing your inner work helps you be the better person. Before a creative, you have to do it. You're doing it whether you realize it or not. You're absorbing from the outside world and you're transmuting it into creations that reflect back to that world what it really is. And don't even think for a minute as an artist that you could get away with lying. You might lie to people when you're face to face and you might be able to lie a lot, but your artwork will never lie. It's a subconscious transmutation. A little bit of you is going to be in there too. It's unavoidable. And if you've done your own editing and lived long enough, you see it. You know where you are in every piece of work you do. Now, where I wanted to broach the subject of alchemy was this: younger creatives, and this has happened to some, I could think of a few that have committed suicide. They were miserable. And you hear a lot of talk about this trope about, artists are miserable or, they suffer for their art. Well, that's being said by people who aren't artists most of the time, and that's an outside observation. Now, some artists have bought into it and believe it, but other artists are like, no, you have David Lynch, perfect example. He's like, no, he does not believe that artists have any special requirement to be miserable. I'm not a miserable artist. I'm happy. Creating makes me happy. Um, and I can do it anywhere. I can do it on a napkin with a pen. I can do it anywhere. So, it's doesn't make me unhappy at all. Doing the art doesn't make me unhappy. So what is this source? What makes creatives unhappy? That's why I wanted to explain the alchemy of being an artist. You have to be aware, and if there's nobody around a young artist to teach them and tell them this, I hope that this reaches them. You're going to absorb the energy of everybody around you. You're going to absorb their moods. You're going to absorb things about them that are their life. They're not yours. And if you don't take the time to know yourself first before you go on that journey as a creative, the things that are projected on you by other people, by the outside, can disillusion you. You can begin to believe that you're those things. You can literally become depressed because somebody you're around is depressed. That's how powerful our absorption ability is as creatives. If you're a true creative, you can feel everything and everyone around you, and you really don't have a choice about it. Normies will tell you, oh, just ignore all the bad people, ignore the people that are doing evil things, which always brings me back to that biblical quote, The only true evil is the indifference of good men. Well, is it making an excuse for evil people and telling everybody to ignore them kind of indifferent? I don't know. It's an interesting paradox, isn't it? It's uber important. It's one of the most important things that you can do singularly as a creative is know yourself. Yourself, and knowing yourself is your armor to protect you from these energies you absorb so that you don't mix them up with your own self and your own feelings. That's a big part of the misery. Some artists do. They don't have the ability to differentiate between somebody else's energy and their own. And they get trapped in this dark rabbit hole they can't get out of because nobody can understand it. I come close to falling into it sometimes. So even when you're aware it can happen to you, it can still almost pull you down. I'll give such an example. I'm creating this flying spaghetti monster, a very dark techno noir type of creation, to be a reflection of something that I've recently experienced. And so that I could take that negative experience I've recently had, put it into a sculpture, an avatar, if you will, and a place that I can regularly go back to, and I can pour all of the negative that I absorb from other people into it and get it out of me so that I can go about my work as the pure me and not have the contamination of that negative coming into my later pieces. It doesn't really belong there. I mean, there are places where I will share this experience of what I went through at this place that I'm currently at, but that's a time and a place where I'll do it with intent so that it's done properly. And there'll be lots of parts of it that are going to come out of me that I'm not going to recognize. And an example would be that cartoony meatballs, flying meatball thing I created at the end of Vlog 3. That kind of spun into its own life, so much so that I'm not including it in future videos because it's its own project now. I've already written an entire hour-long pilot for it. And when I was going back to edit it and reread through some of it, I realized I was doing exactly what I'm warning all young creatives about right now. I had poured into it some of this darkness that I was carrying from being around dark, toxic people and absorbing their energy. And so this pilot actually kind of has some of that in it. I didn't intend for it to come out that way, but I'm going to leave it alone. It's honest and it's visceral. And so maybe it needs to be that way. So it's its own project now, and I will put trailers and previews for that when it clears the copyright and all that. So back to the alchemical side, I'd just tell you this. My experience is this. I've encountered a lot of toxic people that their whole life is around their entire conversation, and everything they ever do is always about negative. They never see anything in a good light. They always see the dark side. They always bring up the dark side. They always have something negative to say. They're always looking for sympathy, and they're always dodging accountability. That's normal. You're going to run into people that are like that. There's actually quite a few. I run into quite a few like that. I try to keep things at a minimum as far as contact because I don't need that kind of energy around me. I'm on to good things and I have a good life and I'm happy and I don't want that in it. And nobody should. But as a creative, you still got to be around it and you still got to absorb it a little bit. Like I said, so you can make an honest reflection of what you're experiencing. Now, what makes this a little bit anomalous is I did something you're probably not supposed to do. I went to the person and I was like, hey, I'm going to accept you for who you are. You like this negative, backbiting, backstabbing, gossiping, lying about people, causing drama for your own entertainment. You like that. That's you. That's your thing. Can you leave me out of it? And that was the biggest mistake I could have ever made because now I'm the target and I'd rather be forgotten and be allowed to just continue to transmute the periphery darkness I pick up off of them and put it into that sculpture, but otherwise be able to move into my projects that I have going forward that have not that so this energy doesn't interfere with my creative mojo. I'm going to have to probably do something very extreme creatively and alchemically to just get clean of it. Like I'm going to have to probably go on some spiritual thing to go get cleansed or something. It's that dark of an energy. It's literally like falling into a bucket of black goo. I mean, when I went to ask them to stop doing it to at least me, you can do it to whoever else you want, but just leave me out of it. They told me that they like doing it, that that's their idea of entertainment. So you're going to run into that sometimes. And that's literally, to me, in my mind, I picture a mustache twirling villain in my mind. That no, no, I like tying people to railroad tracks and watching them get run over kind of person. They do exist. I can say, I guess I've kind of been lucky where I run into these dark, twisted energies, but never close enough to find out how twisted until now. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, though. That's like what they like, and that's who they are, and that's who they've made themselves into, and that's who they choose to be. So, I mean, you're not going to get away from those kind of creatures. It's just going to be life. And you're not going to have any allies because most people, they're very close to it, or they're the indifference that allows evil to be. And that's what it means to be a Westerner, actually, is to carry on despite the fact that you're knee deep in evil sometimes. You know? I just wanted to get into the alchemy a little bit and to make people understand, like, what the transmutation process is like for a creative. And I'm demonstrating with the Flying Spaghetti Monster how I intend to tackle it without having this negative energy that I'm surrounded by every day be an impact anymore in the future of the things I create. Is by giving it a home, giving it a place that I can always take and hang it on, like a hanging tree. So this sculpture is kind of like a studio therapy, so I can have peace of mind when I'm creating things. Thanks everybody who took the time to check this out and follow us and like and subscribe. And if you wouldn't mind sharing it, I'm trying to get like a good ground swelling of audience up to get ready to release my first animation in August. But like I said, thanks again, and I hope everybody has a wonderful day and a wonderful night. Bye.